Welcome to the For Real Though Show, the podcast with a purpose for the people. So, one of the great things about having your own show is you get to have your friends on, right? You get to have your boys on. So, man, it is with a great pleasure, man, to introduce you to one of my friends. Got to meet this brother a couple years ago in Minneapolis, kicking it at a football game with a group of our cats that we kick it with. The group is actually expanding now, so in Cleveland it's gonna be lit. But yo, just a whole group of guys, man, that just got together, man, and vibing. You know, football is really a tool. You know, it's really just an object to get us to fellowship. So got to meet and spend time with his brother in Minneapolis, man. Kicked it, had a great time, man. Good, just grown man action, you know, which we love. And you know, he happens to be the DJ for the Los Angeles Dodgers at that. So it was great. With great pleasure, I get to introduce you to my friend Lanier Stewart, my DJ Lanier Stewart, who we call DJ Severe. Welcome to the show, bro.
Pleasure, bro. Pleasure, bro. Couldn't wait. Glad we are friends and close friends and we can make it happen. You know what I mean? You get the inside track all the time.
Oh, for sure. Membership has its privileges.
Yes.
Yeah, so you being a DJ, man, I actually got curious before we did this, man. I was doing some research and I was like, man, where did the term DJ come from? Did you know where that term came from?
Yeah. Well, I've heard it explained several ways, but I really think the profound way is disc jockey for like radio, like disc jockeys who used to I'm not sure exactly when they coined them with that phrase or not, but I know it was a disc jockey, but at the time, I know it was just putting on one record like to the next, which is morphed into, you know what I mean, what we now know as DJs that do what at least I do, which is play music. But I think it's also morphed into more production wise, because a lot of people nowadays think every DJ has to put out their own music, which some do. So it kind of like spawned into that, where people think a DJ, because then people took on DJ and like DJ Calvin Harris, who produces music. They took on like that. And so a lot of people were asking, like, do you do music? But the funny thing is most producers start out as DJs, and most DJs could probably produce music, because it takes a certain element to know what works in music. And the most thing I like about it is being tapped with, or the way it used to be. It's not so much welcome now, but the way it used to be, where a DJ's job was to break new music, and which is every DJ should try to break new music. And you know, on my shows, I'm always constantly searching for like new music, but sometimes it's not so much welcome, where people sometimes in clubs only want to hear what they know. And I always try to explain to people, well, how do you go get what did you do before this song that you know now? What did you do before you heard that? Someone has to bring you like the new music. And especially if you know it's good, like, why are you fronting on it just because you don't know it? You know what I mean? Don't front on the music. Let me take you down another journey. Or how about the song that you requested? How about I play something different that you probably totally forgot about? And you go, yeah, I forgot about that. So, I mean, but that was a long answer to probably say that it used to come from the phrase of a disc jockey in a radio station playing songs over the radio.
Well, interestingly enough, yeah, I think you're right about the way the term and the art of DJing. You know, it's the definition has vacillated a lot. Interestingly enough, I was looking online, man, and it says it started in 1935 when Charles Lindbergh's son was kidnapped. And there was a guy by the name of Martin Block who was playing records in between news updates about the Lindbergh kidnapping. So that was like a really, really, really big deal, you know, because it's rich people, you know, high class kidnapping and that sort of thing. So he was playing records in between the news updates about the Lindbergh kidnapping. And this other guy named Walter Winchell, who was a gossip columnist, gave him the name disc jockey, which is obviously described the round disc of a record. And like you said, he would play one record at a time. This guy went and bought like 4 records, right? So he took it to the studio and he would just play music as a way to pass the time between updates of where the police were with the Charles Lindbergh thing.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty cool.
That's crazy.
Like you said, it's morphed into so much more than that.
Yeah. That's a dope morph from how it did it. Took that. That's crazy. That is crazy.
That is. So obviously, man, with being a DJ, you love music. So, what do you attribute to your love of music, and what kind of music was playing in your house growing up?
Oh, dope. Okay, so I think I had a natural affinity to it. And I just was lucky enough to be, first off, musically inclined to be able to accept it. So at an early age on, my dad, I can remember, bought me a drum set early on, nice drum set. And I would just sit there and I would just kind of play and pan. Really didn't know what I was doing. And I can just remember at the time, my stepfather had this just what I thought was a dope just vinyl collection. And I can remember Stevie Wonder playing. I can't remember exactly what album at the time I was playing, but I think it was like As, and I can just remember like playing the drums and just kind of like to it. But as I grew older, and I would take family trips with like my stepfather and my mom, and my dad's Firebird, like was the 8-track player, because that's what people like rocked out on back then.
Yes.
Yeah, 8-track in the car. But so I listened to stuff in the car, kind of fine tune my ear, and a majority of stuff my stepfather would bring to the table was Earth, Wind, and Fire. So early on, I got really introduced to like Earth, Wind, and Fire. And then when I really got enamored to vinyl, and I can remember just flipping through my stepdad's vinyl and just looking at the album covers, and then going through stuff. And my dad had every Earth, Wind, and Fire. So in houses I grew up in a musically inclined family. So I like to say, I learned whenever I would go to my cousin's house, there would be different vinyl collections, and they all would range in something different. So my foundation came from my home, which was Earth, Wind, and Fire, Ohio Players, because I can remember every Ohio Players album cover like today with the honey dripping on the lake. You know what I mean? They always had the sexually charged album covers.
Fire hose wrapped around the naked body.
Yeah, just everything like that. So I can remember specifically, my stepdad had Earth, Wind, and Fire, Ohio Players, Luther Vandross, stuff like that, and Whispers. That was his collection. And then also on the other side was a bunch of Richard Pryor records that you wasn't really supposed to be listening to. You know what I mean? But when they leave, you tip out, you listen to it, and then you put it like right back in the spot that you know what I mean you're going to. But yeah, you know what I mean? You learn to okay, it came out here, let me put it right back in here. But that's how you also
CIA level security, you know what I mean? Yes. Back just the way it needs to be, right.
Right. And not only that, you wasn't really supposed to be touching that stereo system, because I mean, back then you gotta think that's what they call a hi-fi. That was, you know what I mean? That was legitimate stuff. You're not supposed to be touching that system.
Sure, not at all.
And so I can remember specifically one week I caught the chicken pox, and I was home for a week by myself. And I can remember just going through and discovering like the Whispers Headlights album and learning it from just cover to cover and just playing it over and over and over again. And then I had a cousin, I had an aunt who I used to spend a lot of time with when I was younger. And this is right when the Columbia House Get 12 Records for a Penny had come out. You know what I mean? So you get a penny, tape it to the slider, slide it in the slide. Yeah, send it off, and then your records come. But you never 7
different accounts.
Yeah, but you never bought anything else. I didn't even know what that was about. You never, they keep sending you the booklets. You're like, I don't want that. But right. So that was my own first album or LP collection when I was younger. And so what I did was I just went through like the little brochure and kind of just like did the same thing, like looking at album covers. And that's how I discovered like the Silvers, Heat Wave, because I ordered every Heat Wave album. And then so I had Silvers, Heat Wave. I even had ordered some what is it? Glenn Campbell, because my aunt, she also used to watch Hee Haw, the show, and Lawrence Welk.
I used to watch Hee Haw.
You know what I mean? Yeah, so I was like I was getting all these different music, like just genres just like thrown at me in the form of variety shows. Because we had the Mike Douglas show. So to me it was all encompassing.
Yeah.
So once I developed my own like love for music and my own like little collection, it just did something to me. And I had a cousin who, when I would go to his house, his mom had an even bigger music collection than my stepdad did. And that's how I got turned on to Funkadelic and Cameo. So it was different pockets where I would take what I learned from Earth, Wind & Fire, and then these other things would just enamor me. And I was like, okay, all these different music. And at that time, that's not even like Prince is my favorite artist, because we already talked about it, because we went to like Crazy Park. But that's where I first discovered Prince at my cousin's house when they had the Dirty Mind like album. And I was so caught up, and then like they were playing it, but this house was primarily Funkadelic and like Parliament. And so to discover Prince there was like so different, but that's where I discovered Prince. So it's been a lot of pockets where I've picked up my love for music. And then later on it morphed into, okay, each city had like everybody had that little mom and pop record shop where you would walk down the street, you know what I mean? Have your $1 or have your $2, because a 45 only costs $1. And you walk in and it smells like incense, because they burn incense in the record shop, you know what I mean? It's got it's got the first video game at the corner, doing whatever. So, and then everything was on the wall, and you just in there just listening to the person playing music, and then you get to figure out what you want, and then you start recognizing different album center places, how they look. Like everybody remembers the Polydor and you know what I mean? Yes. And
Motown, Camelot.
Oh, Motown with the yellow and the brown at the top. So you start recognizing like that. Yes, this must be good. And so if you didn't have enough money for an album, you're like, okay, I'm gonna get this 45, and you can't wait to go home, see what's on the B-side, because at the time radio wasn't playing the B-side. So you like, oh, I hope it's a good song on this B-side, or it was be like part 1, like part 2. So I just got so used to that, and the feeling I still get that same feeling when I go into a record shop like today. So that was kind of like my first launch into it. Later on, I got into the band and did different things, but and also it developed over time. They developed where your mom and pop bought you your own music set. You know what I mean? So now you had yours in your room. So now you really think, okay, well, I ain't gotta really like mess with my own pops anymore. So I can be in my room listening to my own music. So I got my own set, and that's when I started, I think, my first wave into what I call to develop my DJ skills, which was making pause tapes. And so like I can remember the first time Cutie Pie came out, and that's when everybody started pop locking. So you want to make that song long enough before it gets to the lyrics so people can do these like long pop lock routines. So I just became a master at taking and putting a little tape over a cassette to make it so you can record over any cassette. So you put tape over that. And I just started making these pause tapes. In my room, I just spend these hours upon hours making pause tapes, because it takes a lot to take a song that's 3 or 4 minutes and turn it into an 11, 12-minute song. And so you just sit there with your timing, playing the record over and over and again, lifting up and pausing and lifting up and like pausing. That was my first real launch, I think, into DJing, which I never knew it was going to turn to that. I just was trying to make the song like longer.
Man, we got a lot in common in terms of the music growing up. We're going to talk about the record store a little later, but I kind of had some of those same experiences. My parents, when they were together, my dad was really into Earth, Wind & Fire.
Okay.
And I remember when I was 8, when he had That's the Way of the World. That was in '75.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he used to love that part, on That's the Way of the World, when Maurice would go, "Brother, won't you hear me now? Won't you hear me now?" His face used to scrunch all up and stuff.
Yeah.
And all about love, and he said, all kind of strategies.
Yeah.
Somewhere religion, so forth.
Yeah.
Like my daddy he kind of carried himself in a real cool way. So, even listen to the music just in the house, he would do that kind of stuff, like kind of turn his face and kind of like he was really into it. And then when they split up, we moved to Indiana, South Bend in particular. We didn't have any black radio stations. We had one that played on Saturday nights. It was a public radio station. They played Saturday night from 6 to 11. Okay, so the rest of it was pop. So coming from East St. Louis, Illinois, that's how I got hip to, white folks music, if you want us to call it that. Like the Eagles and stuff like that. Just because that was all that was playing. And then my mom, she was always been into music, and we trade music to this day. Except now it's like she'll send me a link to the Spotify or Apple or something like that. Pandora, and say, "Hey, you gotta listen to this." But I'd never forget, man. I never forget like 2 albums in particular, man. One was the long version of "Got to Give It Up," Marvin Gaye.
Okay.
I remember she came home with that one Saturday and danced for like 4 hours straight. Like just kept it playing over and over, and just her by herself.
Right.
And then the other one was Herb Alpert's "Rise."
Yeah.
And she put that on. And I mean, again, it was a Saturday afternoon. She came home and then she just got lost in the joy. So, I kind of grew up the same way, man, especially cleaning up, when a lot of music was playing. And so when you talked about the B-sides, man, that was the thing. Was I used to be into the music that they wouldn't play on the radio. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you get me talking to Tina Marie, and about Tina Marie, for instance, I'm like, man, the dope shit from Tina Marie, man, they never played it on the radio. Like, Casanova Brown is cold. What about Tune In Tomorrow? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You Make Love Like Springtime. Like that shit was cold. That shit was cold. So, but you talked about making those tapes long so they can pop lock. So, people are obviously dancing all over the country, but you're in Los Angeles, man. So, that I believe that scene was a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? If they pop locking, crip walking, or whatever, man. So, put us there in that scene, man, about how it was, on the West Coast, SoCal, how that was during that time, when you was doing Cutie Pie and they was really, displaying their talents out here in these streets.
Right. So I grew up in Pasadena, Altadena, California, which is a suburb, probably, so let's say 30 minutes, 45 minutes from LA. My city is an anomaly because we grew up in the mountains, close to the mountains, white, black, Latino, everybody getting together, no racism. Like I had white people living on the side of me that was neighbors, and everybody was just cool. I had 2 parks where I could go to with a pool, and I had summer baseball leagues and just everybody. So we grew up around everybody. I had, you know what I mean? You have the street up the street, there's horses, there's, you know what I mean? So we were exposed to a lot of different things. No racism whatsoever. I mean, just everybody just like got along. And so in the early 80s, when I really started getting into it, this is when we were exposed to everything. So of course we still had everybody got it across the tracks, you know what I mean? Where you have like a little bit of hood part. And when my grandparents first came here in the 40s, most Black people could only stay in lower Pasadena. You couldn't move up to Altadena. But my grandmother was one of the first Black families to buy 3 homes in like Altadena. So I had my grandmother on one side of the street. She owned the house that me and my mom and my stepdad lived in. So I was across the street. Then I had my aunt like next door, who my grandmother also owned that house with like a lot of property. We had peacocks and it's just like everything. So we were exposed to a lot of different things. That being said, that's right at the age of not MTV, but when music videos had first really started coming out with like the mod dancers and different things. I forget the name of the afternoon show that we used to watch that would everybody would rush home after school, and you would catch these 30-minute like video shows where they would show the videos. But then again, like you said, it was mostly white music. It hadn't got to the point where Michael Jackson had started making videos or anything yet. Or if anybody was making videos, they were just making them and they were just like out there. It wasn't a thing where people were showing videos. So we just enjoyed music because we had 3 dope radio stations. We had 1580 K-Day, which is world famous that everybody would know about. There was an AM station. We had KGFJ. There was another AM radio station. And then we had KJLH, which was owned by Stevie Wonder. That was FM that you could get. And we could only get that barely at certain times of night. If the transmitter hit right, then you could catch, like, you could fine tune into like KJLH. And I would sit and listen to K-Day like all day. I would go to sleep, listen to K-Day, just having music constantly in my head. And when it got to a certain point, when hip hop first came in, it's just like you say how the pop station was. Hip hop didn't start getting played until 11, 12 at night because it wasn't like comfortable for people's ears yet. People hadn't really realized what this was, and it was still garbage to them. So you'd have to wait up at night to hear these different things, these different music that you call. And then, of course, it separated the older folks like our parents from us because they like, well, what is this like garbage you guys is listening to? Because I mean, at the height, the R&B was just killing everything. So they, of course, they don't want to hear these young kids. And then finally, I think I was probably in the 6th grade, and that's when you start hearing the Curtis Blows and the Sugar Hill Gangs when it started to get just a little commercial. And now all of a sudden we got this new Sugar Hill label that we're looking at that's like on these 12 inches. It's now it's like these, what's this? This is a big 45 that we got. You know what I mean? It's not an album.
Maybe blue with the rainbow thing.
Yeah, the blue with the rainbow.
Yeah.
The blue with the rainbow.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, now sequence, and they just kicking out music. So
Sequence.
you're like, okay.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, you kicking out all these new music. So now it's changing. Okay, so people's ears is waking up, and now we're merging more because at the time, we were young. We weren't really into where somebody was from. You didn't really get into it. Now, if you start reading the liner notes, which was one of my favorite things to do, was like read the liner notes to find out who produced what and who did this. But so now as the movies start coming out, the Beat Streets and the Break-Ins and all those, because we're in the suburbs, of course, yeah, everybody now, I want to do something. So you got people that's over in this section, they pop locking or they break in, you know what I mean? And we had like a whole like B-boy thing. And, because we were passing it, everybody's parents could buy them everything. People had the belts, everybody had the Kangos, you know what I mean? So it was just different pockets of different things. And so I can remember one year, my mom and my dad would buy every Easter. It was a thing where you had to get a new Easter suit. You know what I mean? So you always got to get a suit for Easter. So you go fresh to church. Yeah. And so one day, my mom and my dad, they drove me out to LA to this swap meet called Market Street. And I was so locked in, like, man, I seen all these black people and everything. Because it was different for me because like, I never been like just around just all that, just nothing but like black folks, like it just had a different feel. Mm-hmm. So after I got my suit, my mom and dad, we went home, and I told my homeboy Mark about it. My Mark was at the time the only one of us had a car, so we immediately hopped back in the car. I watched every freeway we took. We went back down to this swap meet in Market Street.
You became your own GPS.
Yeah. I did my own. I did my own GPS down to 110. Figure, okay, like get off here. Like, yeah. And so, at this swap meet, they were selling these mixtapes, and it was like they had all these mixtapes. So we had some money, so we bought a couple of them up. And I can just remember the standout to me on that mixtape was a Dana Dane song, who was already playing on KJ, but that's the first time I heard Eric B. as president on that mixtape. And just all these different songs. So now us that were loving music, we're like, oh man, we got to come down here every week for this next mixtape. And that's how the East Coast music started coming to us easier. and we started like taking. This is probably like 1984, 5, and it's just, so this is right at the height of hip hop doing what it's, you know what I mean, doing what it's doing. Now R&B is still hanging on, holding on, because you still got the Midnight Stars, and you know, everybody group that had a star, Atlantic Star, everybody was like a star at the time. And then and then the New Edition had finally kicked. So I mean, that was the new Michael Jackson. Thriller was coming out. So I mean, to me, that's when music was just starting to just like really, really blossom, with the sound quality and the different things they were doing. People was adding a little bit of electronic into it. So it was changing and getting its own like real like legs. So in Pasadena, you just had everybody doing this. People skating, people pop locking, people breakdancing. And at the time, because, you know, just like you said, you know, all we really had was at the time, our TV shows was What's Happening, Good Times, you know what I mean? The same stuff we like watching. But now we're branching off into other stuff. Now it's getting some stuff that you can actually touch and do in your own neighborhood. You know what I mean? So that was like the first, I think, emergence of how music was just like blossoming and changing, and how I just grabbed a hold to it. At the time, I just loved music. So it was all about new music for me all the time. Just find new music, play new music. I had no aspirations at the time of being a DJ. I was just like, let me just find new music and play new music.
You know, that's funny, man, what you said about the 70s going into the 80s, you know, when hip hop was first coming along, because I think one of the great things that hip hop has, you know, been able to blossom by is from sampling. And
Yes.
Because there was, if you wasn't paying attention, and I wasn't, you know what I mean? I didn't have my ear to the ground to really observe. I'm just listening to what's being given to me, right?
Right.
But like in the 70s, man, I mean, when you talk about, like you said, Ohio Players, Lakeside, you know, Slave, those guys, Earth, Wind and Fire, they're bands. So they're all musicians. They got horns, like Confunction, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so if you was kicking ass as a band, you had to have horns, you know what I'm saying? You got to have a couple guitar players, some synthesizers, you know what I'm saying? And then everything in the 80s, it started to get scaled back. It was a lot more electric, like you said.
Right.
You know, and even the first few hip hops, you know, was just kind of either, you know, obviously Sugar Hill, you know, sample Chic, but a whole lot of stuff even from the East Coast was a lot of drum machines and, you know, keyboards and stuff like that. So that was a really, man, you know, I didn't think about, like, I remember thinking like, okay, man, you know, new wave and stuff like that. You remember when new wave was first coming along and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
But it's really something how drastic the music shifted, you know, from being band laden, performance laden to, you know, so your Atlantic Stars, your SOS bands, that was like some of the last ones to really do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and you don't even remember, like, because I mean, we was young, so you didn't really know, like, all these people are touring together, they making like relationships. But you know, because if I'm in LA, you're not knowing all the concerts that's going on around the country that all these people are touring to. And the dope thing about having the hip hop take the samples was, at least for me, I had so much music around me, the jazz stuff, that I was able to, when the hip hop, like when the Tribe Called Quest and everybody started coming out and they start using the real jazz samples, I was already able to attach to it because I could recognize that sample.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, so it gave me even more relationship with the East Coast music. And then like even like when the West Coast started taking the Ohio Players Funky Worm and putting that in there, and it's like, if people was like, oh, that's this. So it's like, it became easier for me to go, no, they use that sample, and then getting even more locked into it to say, okay, well, man, this is really taking it somewhere. Because you like, first you're giving them credit because you think it's original, but you're like, nah, man, I like the way that you took that sample and found that part to make that like part of the song. To me, that's still one of my favorite things to do today, is to find a sample that I didn't even know was a sample, or hear how they flipped it, or hear how they made it. To me, that's musicianship in itself. Because like you said, even the Earth, Wind and Fires and the Slaves, who had those bands, you had those musicians, and those musicians were some of the baddest musicians in the city. They had to work their way. And just because they made the band don't mean that they was there was still some cats that was top, because there was pockets of bands like all over the place. It's just cats that just having to get that break and then like make it out. But when you can hear that intricacies in some of them bass lines and you add the horns, I always like to go back and tell people and point things out to people like Rick James, the strings that you hear and the pianos that you hear in like a Rick James song are so orchestral. But then you go back to like the Teddy Pendergrass and the Philadelphia like sound, and you hear those, sound of Philadelphia, and you hear those strings, and you're like, man, these dudes, they had it. And and it was so easy just to bring a whole string like system in, just people, and just write these beautiful songs that incorporate these strings. That intricacy in music, that is so dope to me. When you sit back and you can hear all the sounds and then hear how they wrote this and the progression, and just picture them in the studio with these people playing violins and putting that like to that track. And then even for their minds to be able to say, I want to add some strings, like, you know what I mean? Or just come up with with like 4 different people playing the horns, some of the baddest horn sections, you know what I mean, in the world, just coming up with these riffs that just fit perfectly with these songs. And I'm not talking about the certain parts where the horns is coming, but just the background of the horns when they might slide something in that you hear. That's what was so intricate to me that I loved about music. You know what I mean?
Brother, that's the thing, man. I've never had a conversation with somebody about these things except Sean. Me and Sean, mutual friend of ours, we had a long conversation about music in this cigar bar, and we were talking about all these nuances that you're talking about. Now, until I was an adult, man, and I've heard, and I'm sure you can relate to this, where you can hear a song 1,000 times, but then you could be sitting down listening to it, and it's like you're hearing it for the first time because you hear different stuff out of it. Like there was a time I remember sitting. I like telling the story because man, I just remember exactly how it was. Like, I got my own little DJ in me, and I used to make all my friends mixtapes and stuff, and then I used to make CDs, for whatever occasion. And so what I do now, though, is if I'm just depending on the mood I'm in, I'll sit back and just be on my computer, whatever, and just playing different songs that are just coming to my head, So it was one time, man, I could do that for like 3, 4, 5 hours straight, especially catch me at the right time, man, catch about 12:30 in the morning, and I ain't sitting down about 4. So I'm sitting down, man, in the basement. I'm still living in St. Louis, and I was playing Aretha Franklin's "Ain't No Way." And I remember, man, just listening to it. It was something about the way she was singing it, and then the lady that do that real high note in the background, she got that opera. Oh man, and I just started crying, man. Just started crying, and I wasn't even sad, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the same thing what you said about Gamble and Huff. Like when you listen to their stuff as a child, and then listen to their stuff now. It's like I hear all the strings. I get all the details, the intricacies. And man, when I was a kid, man, I used to sit down, and that's another thing we used to do in South Bend. I forgot to mention this, man. When cable first came out, it was just the HBO box, right? And so we used to it used to have the two little things that you have to screw into the back. Right. And that so we would take that part off and hook it to the radio, to the stereo.
Oh,
and
word.
We would get WBMX in Chicago because it gave it a little
word.
Yeah. But
word.
But if I was listening to something, man, like I remember when I got Tina Reid's Irons in the Fire, that album. And so and I remember thinking to myself, man, when she was doing this jazzy stuff, I'm telling you, man, I was like 14 years old, and I was like, how do they think of this shit? I used to put myself and be like, okay, I bet you they was in the basement. It was real late at night. You know what I'm saying? Because the stuff was so good. And even as a child, Billy Strayhorn wrote Lush Life at the age of 17. So I think if you have a musical spirit, I guess there's certain things you don't necessarily have to get in life. Like your soul is old, and so you hear this music. And I'm like you, man. I would just hear everything in the background, and and it was, to know this was on purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like this was by design. And I listened to an interview with Mike Fillinganes, you know, and he was talking
Mm-hmm.
about Stevie Wonder, you know, when he was working with him with Songs in the Kid Life and all of that. And he was
Right.
talking about, man, he got this version of Send One You Love that ain't never been played before. That's way colder than anything. You know what I'm saying?
I've heard about that.
You've heard about that? Yeah,
I've heard
yeah.
about
That's
that.
just, he said it's so smooth and cold it ain't even funny, man. So it's real wild, man. Like you said, man, the detail of the music, man. That's another thing. We could have a whole, you know, show on that, man. Now,
When you speak of real quick, when you speak of like the Tina Marie, I remember the song that did that for me was Portuguese Love. When I was like, how did they come up with this? Even how they come in it, blah 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 blah.
yeah.
It's just like, how do you? Yeah, how do you? And then it goes into like your regular R&B ballad.
Yeah.
But then in the middle of the song, they go into like the little percussion, like, and you're like, man, how did they come up?
They hit you with that Brazilian.
Yeah, it hit you with that Brazilian. And then another person used to do that to me was George Clinton and Funkadelic. The things they used to come up with the wording of the song, the words they used to use, and then just, I was always so enamored with Dennis Chambers and the way they set their drums up and how they toms hit. It's just like, but I mean, and then I could just, man, you like you said, we could just go on and on.
You go on and on and on. Do you remember Rick James's Jefferson Ball?
Yes.
So
yes.
So when I was a kid, man, I mean, to me, that's the cool thing about Rick, man. I hope you get to see, if you haven't seen it yet, Bitchin' the Sound and Fury Rick James on Showtime.
I haven't. I was talking about that with
It's got to be on your list, bro. Got to be on your list. But I remember even as a kid, man, like, to me, Rick was telling stories. So when I would hear his music, I would my imagination would go, you know what I'm saying? So when he was doing this, you know, may I my lady now, may I my lady now, may I was like, I'm thinking he like in a royal thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's kings and queens and justice and shit. You know what I'm saying? And then when the ladies which was Tina Marie, before she had an album, was in the background, you know, they was like, papaya, papaya, ooh, ooh, ooh. I was like, dang, even then, man, I was like, this is incredible. And nobody was doing nothing like that. You know?
Nobody. Nobody. That's what did it for you.
Now, man, you like, oh, this cat had orchestras in his DNA. You know what I'm saying? Like Motown. But obviously he worked with Motown for so long, you know, he knew the value of them orchestras, man, them strings, them horns, you know, like them deep drums, you know what I mean? Like, these cats was musical aficionados, you know what I'm saying? They just had a style that they presented, but they could have did anything.
They could have did anything, and you just like, you just can't wait. That's why I got so into reading the liner notes to figure out. That's why when I was younger, like I said, when I had my first like music collection, and I'm reading the Heatwave albums, and I'm seeing Rod Temperton right here. I'm like, okay, Rod Temperton. And then you go to Off the Wall and you see Rod Temperton. You're like, okay, Rod Temperton. And then you find out Rod Temperton is an English dude, a white English dude.
Yes.
From overseas, just a chain smoking English dude, just putting all this like stuff together. You're like, what the hell? Then you discover Steely Dan, and there's some other. Then you start seeing like all these other badass white dudes. Toto. You're like, oh man, this is like awesome, man. You just like getting everything. This is crazy, man. How music like does that. That same thing. That's one of the same things that I get this feeling from one particular song every time, where just like my scruncho face it's always Fucking for Jamaica. Fucking for Jamaica is probably, and it probably rotates around, but there's no song I don't think that gives me that feeling when to even play funk. I just get in a zone, from the vocals to just like everything about that song was just like beautiful to me. And it's just like so funky and so just, you know, just so put together. That's probably, it's in my top 3-4 songs, but man, I love that track. You know, but it gives me this feeling every time you hear it. You know.
Oh yeah, it's no doubt about it. So man, I saw, you know, we're Hoop fans, and I saw Chris Paul, man, having this interview once, and he was talking about, you know, being in locker rooms with teammates and stuff, and he was like, they be talking about what they do if they won the, you know, the mega millions or whatever, right? The Powerball. And he's like, a lot of cats, man, yeah, I retire and go do this, I retire and go do that. And he's like, damn, man, he said, I just couldn't understand it because no matter how much money I make, I'm a hoop. I'm a hoop, right? And if somebody that don't feel like that, that's playing in NBA, I don't understand it. So I take that quote, man, and I thought about you when I heard that because you got 81, days a year, to be at Dodger Stadium, and yet, man, every time I look up, man, you are out here playing music, man. You are this is in your soul, man. You are one hell of a working DJ, man.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, man. I see you, you can pop up on Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, any time of the day, man. Bam, there he is. Tell me about that, man. That love, man, that you always gonna be out there hooping, man, on these ones and twos.
Yeah, it's funny because I mean, as we get older, I always ask myself, well, man, how long are you gonna do this? But I always say, okay, there's two different reasons. It's like I'm always gonna love music. Even to this day, people call me and they say I got some vinyl, and I say I'm on my way. I don't care. I don't need to know what it is. I'm taking your vinyl because you trying to get rid of something that to me is like gold, and I'm just a drive away from picking it up. So I'm always gonna collect vinyl, and like my shows now. I think one of the beautiful things within the pandemic or whatever, or what we're going through, it created this lane for now the DJ to finally go and create his show where I don't have to worry. I'm not at your club or I'm not this, so I can play what I want to play. But I'm also going to make it good. So like on Thursdays, like later on tonight, I'm gonna do my show, which is Bob's Only. And Bob's Only for me is where I take anything that I call a bop, which is like make your head just go. And it could be 70s, 80s, 90s, it could be whatever. And it's usually me and a guest DJ, or it's me by myself. And that's why I try to introduce to new music. And I try to just cater to it. And it could be me and 20 or me and 40 people that tune in like every week, and we just interact on some music. And I've gotten, I don't know how many shows I've done. And even during the pandemic, I worked with this company, this clothing company in downtown LA, this like Spanish Latin company. And I did 56 weeks in a row for them on their Friday night. And I'm playing more like freestyle, like type music, but we was interacting. So I actually took and grew my Black fan base and my Latin fan base along with the Dodgers. And it just like blew and grew up. So it gave me another outlet to play music amongst people that are reciprocating and getting the same vibes. I had people come up to me saying, man, look, I was down and out through this thing and you helped me get through it. This guy said, I was in rehabilitation and your mixes helped me get through like different things. And to me, this is really what the world is missing, because like we talked about the radio stations that we had coming up in the day. A radio station back then, it was a person, a disc jockey, who could play whatever he wanted. He could introduce you to new music. But at the time, the music was healing because it was an uplifting song. It was a party song. It was a song about love, a song about breakups. But it took you through all these like ebbs and flows of like real life, where you wake up and you start your day off and it's like uplifting you. Now on the radio, now everything is just pulling you down deep into the trenches of your problems, or just making you go self-medicate on something else, or nothing really uplifting for I would say the kids to even grab a hold to and say, look, everything's gonna be all right. I got through this, not just like, you know what I mean, treating the ladies a certain way, because it's just twisted around so much that you can't get that balance. Because even if they just mix in some positive within that every day to try to help you get through, the world will be in a much better place. Because there's nobody to even write the new songs, the new what's going on that we need. Somebody should be writing a what's going on like right now out of this, because what we're going through. But there's nobody that's gonna write that song because everybody's too busy being self-medicated and too down, you know what I mean, and not in that space where they could take and put pen to paper and come up with a song to describe this. Now, some might, but then it might not be popular to the record labels, which that's a whole other story on how the record labels got twisted around to not put out good music anymore, just not doing cookie cutter ringtone like type music. But to me, I love the aspect of there's certain places I like to play. There's certain places I get energy, like Melody Bar I do out here is one of the places where I go because I just play like 90s and people appreciate the music. My lives help me because people appreciate the music. And I've just kind of like hit my peak. Not even haven't hit my peak. I've hit where I know my lane is, what I'm doing at Dodger Stadium. So I'm not saying it's becoming easy, but how I'm shaping my sound and doing different things and what I'm looking for, it's becoming such a beautiful artwork to me of what I'm doing, where I have this like energy where I gotta like get it out. And I'm so lucky that me as a DJ, I'm dealing with EDM, house, R&B, pop. I'm getting everything like to me, and it's all good stuff. I'm not just stuck in, well, you're a R&B DJ. I'm not stuck. I get the chance to do everything, and I get different audiences. So I'm playing for 50,000 a night, 81 times out of the summer. You know what I mean? Not too many DJs can say that they playing for 81 games for 51,000 like people a night. And another beauty of it is a lot of those people don't even know I'm doing it. So it's like I get to walk out in the audience afterwards and see. Or I was talking to this female the other day, and she said, that's actually two people. She was actually, it's funny. She was like, I was just thinking who was doing the music at the stadium. I like it when people come and at first they're like, the first thing they come for is the game and everything else that they think. But when I come through with what I do and then I crush through like all that, and people got to go, wait a minute, this is some good shit going on like right here that I have to really ask myself, like, damn, I know I got the game that I love to come to, but now I've added this where at first I wasn't really recognizing, but now I'm paying attention to it because it's good stuff. So that's like one of the number one compliments, because it's like I came in, did something, and grabbed a hold to you, which is why I don't do the same thing like all the time. I'm always looking for new stuff, and I get bored if I don't have like new stuff. And I just like to see the different reactions in people when I do certain things, or hear that story like, yeah, I was just wondering, or someone will go on Twitter like, and more happens where people like, man, people come for the first time, or they hear it on TV. They go to DJ at Dodger Stadium is incredible, and somebody go, that's my boy DJ Severe. That's DJ Severe. So that's just how it just keeps growing. And I just sit back and watch all this stuff, and it's like it's such a dope template to see grow. And I hit my stride, and it actually gives me more energy to keep looking and to keep doing different things. And it's funny, man, because even me at 53, it's almost like I'm in the best place I could be in. I'm meeting my heroes or our heroes from the 80s. I'm booked on the shows with them. I'm meeting the new wave of people who want to do music. I got people sending me music. I'm like in this dope spot. This weekend, I'm going to the Time concert as a special guest to meet Morris Day and the Time, like backstage, like after like the event. I just, you know what I mean? I get all these dope like opportunities now. Like I'm down with Mellow Man Ace is one of my best friends, and I'm working on being the DJ on the show. Kid Frost. I was talking to DJ Quick. DJ Quick wants to come to the studio and do these. So it's like I'm catching all these artists, and to me, some of them might be out of their prime, but it's like now they're my friends, so I can pick their brain about the music or be in the same circle like with them and go out and play for 50,000 a night in the summer. And then now I get to go do all these dope clubs and like, you know what I mean? And because of what I do, now more and more people are noticing. And it's just like this, it's like this flower that just blooms more and more like every season. And I'm just enjoying like how it's blooming. You know what I mean? And I'm also not taking lightly what it is I do, because I know millions of DJs that would love to do like what I do. So I don't take it lightly. That's what the pandemic taught me and a bunch of people I work with, because we didn't start the season until July last year. And we used to complain about, we about to go into this long 81 game, like home season. So we didn't kick in until July. And a lot of people were saying, like, you know what, I'll never complain about that, about like coming in here again. But just for me, my vision and what I see, every now and then I have to just pinch myself and go, man, you get to go in here and play for 50,000, 40,000 people a night, 81 times a year. You're getting the accolades, things are coming, people are interviewing you, you're making friends with people that that you used to be fans of. You meet these people and like, oh man, I heard about you. It's so good to meet you. Keep doing what you're doing. It's very uplifting, and I don't know when I'm gonna stop. You know what I mean? Like I'm just gonna like keep going. Especially, I feel like I said, I got so much more to like give and learn and do whatever. We just opened up the studio that we're in now. We're about to start making music and doing everything. So I'm actually reliving all my different things I want to do. Now my main goal is I want to win an Oscar, because I want to be a music supervisor on movies. So that's like my goal that I really like want to do. And I'm hoping. Well, I'm not hoping. I know I'm gonna get the opportunity. I'm gonna meet somebody. I always had this phrase where you need somebody to turn your water on, and I know I'm gonna be in the realm of somebody that's gonna let me do a project here, a project there, and put some music to it. And because I've made so many relationships with people in the industry, everybody's just a phone call away where I can call and probably produce these tracks I want to produce. So the sky's the limit. I'm just at like a dope energy in my life, and then trying to take everything in, but also slow it down, the same thing, and then enjoy it. You know what I mean? Because I'm looking up now, we only got 13 games left, and I'm just like, man, this is like the season just started. You know what I mean? But just kind of like gearing up to just keep it going.
That's good, man. So before we get to the next question, you, and I'm sure there are many, many, many more, but you, me, and Questlove are the only people I heard talk about being the geeks that read all the liner notes.
Yeah.
That was me too, man. Like, oh, Tom Bell. Oh,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, man, he wrote another hit.
Yeah. You like, I knew that sounded like so and so. I just gotta make sure that. Yeah.
You speaking of the pandemic, man, and samples, you taught me, like most people our age, I'm 54. We know, we know a rap sample when we hear it. But my God, man, during the pandemic, bro, you was playing some stuff, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't know that was.
Yes.
Oh my God, that was from the Mac. Oh shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, you were really educating. You were really educating, man. And trust me, man, D Nice wasn't the only one laying out these blessings, man. I was working from home, and all I was doing was walking. You know what I mean? That's my exercise, to go walk in the park and walk back. And so when you would put the music on, man, trust me, bro, and I was, I text you, man, oh man, that mix you put out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Wife would come in here and she dances in the kitchen. I'm sitting up here working, trying to work, and I'm like, you know what I'm saying? So
right.
Man. So no, you up on that for real, man. Did you have DJs that you liked growing up? Whether it was on the radio or what have you?
So my favorite all time is Jazzy Jeff. Jazzy Jeff is my favorite DJ of all time. Okay. I keep missing meeting him, and I'm like, I actually got somebody who's in the works on putting together a Zoom call with me and him. We do this big convention out here in NAMM every year where everybody goes in like March, and this is when you see the new equipment that's coming out for producers and everybody. And I either miss him, I either go the day before he goes, or I miss him somehow, like, and going. And I see everybody taking pictures with him. And then when I tell people, they're like, you haven't met Jazzy yet? And I'm like, and one day he shouted me out on his live he was doing, because whenever he's on live, I'm tapped in and I make the comments, and he shouted me out one day, and I was like, man, I was in like heaven.
I was listening to that one. Yeah, I was listening. Yeah.
And so Jazzy Jeff's my favorite, of course. Quest is one of my favorites. I got turned on to some other cats like Newmark. The people that are making like music now because I'm about to start doing that too. I'm about to start doing redrums and like different things. Scratch Bastard, who I discovered at the last NAMM, who I had never heard of, who's this dope ass DJ that lives in Canada. That's just incredible. But Jazzy Jeff and Scratch Bastard, who jumped up there, Newmark, there's certain people who I just see. Z Trip, who I just see and I get like enamored with, like when I see them. And it's not for their scratching ability because that's battle DJing, which I respect 100%. Mm-hmm. I'm more of a blender, and to see how you can seamlessly put the music together and then your music selections that you use. And when I learned, and actually, I got to shout out Kid Capri too, because I'm a huge Kid Capri fan, because Kid Capri was also one of the ones who I would log on to on his lives. And that's when I was discovering a lot more samples. I'm sitting there going, oh man, I didn't know that like was a sample. So each one can give something that you take to somebody. And then when you start doing your own research of your own music that you like to try to find the sample, then like you say, it's like doing school. And I wanted to put out 3 of those mixes. And I didn't really care. I knew it would only touch certain people. You know what I mean? Because if it wasn't new stuff or whatever, it takes a special person to sit there. I mean, that's one of those, those mixes are one of those mixes you, like you said, you just put it on the house when you about to clean up, wax your car, do something, ride, or you just,
it didn't matter.
Yeah, ride, didn't matter. And that's why I made them long, and I didn't care what I put on them. I just wanted that sample to take you wherever it was going to take you back to whatever childhood memory or whatever you just didn't know. You know what I mean? I just wanted it to educate people. And I had longed to get that out of me for like the longest. It had an energy in me that I had to just like get that out. And even during the pandemic, I created every mix that's on my Mixcloud and on my SoundCloud. I pretty much got them all out. I finally got the Prince one out that I was trying to get out. You know what I mean? Because I could never slow myself down enough. Because like when I'm trying to put together plays, I get like jittery. Like I can't wait to like put it in. And finally, everything slowed down where I could just take the time and get them out and birth them like out there. There's still some more that I want to do because I'm discovering more and more new music that I need to put out. You know.
Did you have DJs on the radio that you liked?
Yes, I liked Julio G out here was a dope DJ like in LA. It was Julio G and Mr. Chalk and E-Man were really the first ones. And they were also, so they were on Power 106 and on K-Day, and they were also music supervisors, and they did morning shows. So every morning they would be on, and that's how you would hear them. And then the thing I liked about them is they spun a good dope amount of East Coast and West Coast. I still haven't met Mr. Chalk. I'm close to meeting Mr. Chalk and E-Man and Julio G. But the difference in now is I have a name for myself too. So it's like when I meet them, it's not like I'm just Joe Schmo meeting them. It's like I come with my own pedigree of sound of it. And that's another dope thing that people give me appreciation for, because if people come to the games long enough, they'll figure out my formula. I let the players pick the new hip hop for their walk-up songs. I don't touch that. I use the 90s in different songs for the bumps when somebody does something. That's how I bring people back to the 90s. That's what I use. And then in every game, I play an old school song. It might be a funk song, it might be a rock song, but I try to incorporate that into my show every day. So I'm trying to touch all the bases, but I'm not trying to do the regular stadium stuff. Like I'm not trying to do the jumps and you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly.
I'm making you think a little bit more and work a little more. Plus, we have such a big Latin fan base that also is into the funk and the R&B, the 80s type stuff. That's who I'm trying to speak to. And the dope thing about it is you have enough younger people who had hip parents that turned them on to it. So now it's all coming like full circle. And even if you don't know, it's like it wakes your ears up to something that you haven't heard. And someone always makes a comment on Twitter, like, okay, Severe's playing this. But I always try to make sure I bring out a new song that you would have heard, let's say, in a skating rink back in the day, or like at a lowrider show. That's what I'm trying to do, like every game, and incorporate like everything. I try to hit everybody off that I can during the game.
And that's goes to show you your experience being on the West Coast, it's different from mine. So I grew up in the Midwest. And so, when growing up in East St. Louis, we had our cats, and I get to him specifically later. But so I had to go regional, you know what I mean?
Right.
I had to like Wolfman Jack and shit like that.
Right.
It was already national. Or Casey Kasem, I used to listen to his top 40, every week.
Yeah.
And he'd do the love dedication and stuff. And, and he had an infectious love for music too, that you just couldn't help but get into his enthusiasm about it. And he would tell stories about the artists. So that's like extra liner notes, right? Or, the joy you got when you looked up and saw, oh man, here go the words. This album got the words to it. You know what I mean? It's like,
yes.
And I guess my favorite DJ growing up, well, when I got back to East St. Louis in summer of 82, we had a guy on an AM station, WESL in East St. Louis, named Dr. Jockenstein, operating on your mind. And actually, George Clinton named him Dr. Jockenstein. And this was a day, man, unlike today, because I seldom ever listen to radio today. But like you said, man, back in the day, DJs could play what they want. And, Dr. Jockenstein, man, when he came out with Do Me Baby, that shit was so hot. Dude, he would play that shit 2 or 3 times in a fucking row.
Oh, wow.
Because people was calling the station like, oh, play it again. Because when Do Me Baby came out, and had nobody heard nothing like that. With them,
nothing like that.
With synthesizers and them organs.
Yes.
And the man, just laying himself out there being super vulnerable and shit. You know what I mean? Almost like he the woman. You know what I mean?
Right.
So nobody had heard shit like that. And it was so powerful, man. I remember, man, it was like a rush. Like, and every night, man, he would talk, what y'all want to hear. He had this thing called a roll call show. You know what I'm saying? He'd be like, he'd play Genius of Love in the background. And people call it, he'd be like, what's your name? And what's your sign? Blah, blah. And give me that #1 school. We call it Lincoln Senior High. Hey, favorite teacher with the golden rule. You know what I mean? So then people would call it, do their own raps and shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's why I can't listen to radio now, man, because it's like top 10 over and over again, man. It just disgusts me, man. You know what I'm saying? Because guys can't play what they want to play. Maybe now it seemed like only your jazz stations, like your K Jazz in LA, somebody like that. They get David Benoit, when he's got his show on, or my man that plays this show in the evening. His name is escaping me, but he sings too. He comes on at 8:00. Seems like those guys can play what they want in jazz, but otherwise, man, I think the DJs at the radio station, man, they really not even DJs to me, because maybe they do on the side, but when they come into the studio, man, they gotta, even they oldies, man, even if I listen to, somebody like Al B. Sure's, his Love Quiet Storm show or whatever, it's still the same shit.
It's still the same stuff. Yeah. They don't reach around like that to show you, like, remember this, and like it's the same stuff. And then that's how I think when people get their ears caught up and like, I don't know this, I just want to hear, like, nah, man, like, remember this, but no, remember this, like, do you remember this? But I mean, it's only gonna be for some of us, because I guess we're an anomaly, because some people wasn't going that deep into the albums. Like, they get to that song they want to hear. And if the next one didn't move them, then they probably like, well, I'm like done with this. Me and my friends used to do tape battles. When we bought cassette tapes, we would go and everybody would buy a tape, and then we would put it in the car on the way home, and you have to, song by song, we listen to it, and then we would rate who picked the best like tape, because and I can remember 2 of my winners that I discovered was my my buddy Mark discovered Sherelle High Priority, and then that whatever I picked that day, he just slayed me out of it because that album was so dope.
Yes.
I think one of my winners was Janet Jackson Control album, because remember when Control came out, she wasn't the Janet Jackson that everybody like knew yet.
No,
so
she was nice, cute, nice.
She was
She was Penny for Good Times with a couple of years on her.
Yeah. So nobody was expecting that album to be that dope. And so when I won that day, you know what I mean? That was like, so we used to do these dope things, man, where we would just battle tape song for song for song for song. And that's what conditioned us to get into the whole album from cover to cover and see what it's about, you know? That's a lost art.
Yeah, you know what? And that's the thing, man. So we was talking about the record store, man. And, you know, I guess, you know, there are very few of them like it used to be. You know, we got one in St. Louis called Vintage Vinyl that's still there. They've probably been there for 50 years on Delmar Boulevard. And you can go in there and get albums and stuff. But, we used to have a place called Peaches, a place called Streetside. And, man, there was something about that experience, man, like you said, man, of walking in the store, man, especially on a Tuesday when shit came out.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And man, I had my favorite guy at the store, like, you know, the one that was gonna look out for me. And so, man, you know, maybe, you know, like you said, man, something about picking that thing up, man, you know, and looking at it and reading it and who's on here and who played on this, you know, and then it just got all in your mind, man. I used to get albums for my birthday, man. So, you know, in 77. So my 77, 78, going to my 10th, 11th year of life, I got Saturday Night Fever, you know.
Right.
And that was $12.99 because that was a double album. That was saying something, you know what I'm saying? In 1980, my birthday prayer, what you want for your birthday? The Jacksons, Destiny. You know what I'm saying? You know? Yeah. So man, I see, man, you got this great array, you know, of albums, man. And so do you think when you talk about young people not necessarily being hip to some of the music, man, or being open, do you think that's got something to do with it, man, to where we don't really have a record store, man, and people don't grow up wanting to go to the record store? Like that's like going to an amusement park, man.
Yes. Most definitely that's what it's about, because I heard Fonte from Questlove Show and also from Little Brother say, you can't hand down a music collection no more to nobody. Like you be handing, like I can't hand you my MP3 like junk, like external hard drive. You know what I mean? And it's so, to me, they pushed it so much in the air to streaming that it's not tangible anymore. You know what I mean? And it's so here today, gone tomorrow. I heard an artist ask a kid, go find a kid and ask them who had the best song 2 years ago. They won't even be able to tell you because they recycle it in and out so fast. And then even to that, what's going to be the longevity for the artists of today? Are they going to tour 20 years down the line? And these people that are now like, they become like 50 years old like us, I'm gonna go see so-and-so. But like, are we really creating those type of artists to where you want to hear them like later on? Like we see people that we grew up with, you like, oh man, I'm going to that show because they got some stuff I want to hear about. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The mindset that is now. Do you think they're gonna want to put, like, you gonna want to go see these people like later on? But it's such a cookie cutter music in, music out. They don't take the time to enjoy the music no more, and it's not even enjoyable for them, you know.
And that's what you said about passing the record collection down, man. That was the most profound thing,
right?
That just left me speechless, man. Wow. So you know, I consider you to be an artist. You know that. Mm-hmm. All DJs aren't artists, in my opinion, right, depending on what they really wanted. But you're an artist. So, like artists do, you know, I was watching this thing on a Comedy Store the other day, and they were, you know, all comedians, man, talk about the time where the shit didn't quite go like they thought it would, or they bombed or whatever. Have you Have there ever been a time where you were out there playing, man, and you just could not get the crowd going?
Yeah.
What was that like?
In the very, very beginning, I started out and I was on this, just like I was on my dream, my path. And I actually booked my first wedding. And had got my equipment, got booked on this wedding to do it. Had never done it, thinking I'm doing it, man. I was just like horrible, like plugged up the mic and all, not even on the music, all other aspects, like feedback from the mic, just like ruin these people like reception, like you know what I mean? Just like, I mean, not ruined to the point where, I mean, it was just like it was intense. And I can just remember sitting down and going, man, I got a lot of work to do to get better at what I want to do. And then I did another wedding where somebody's like, yeah, do this wedding. And it was just for this Filipino family. And I was like, trying to tell people, like, look, I'm not ready. Can you just please do it? Because at the time, people were just thinking, you're a DJ, you can just get it done. And I can just remember this lady, the mom, like staring me down. I wasn't doing what she wanted to do. And it's just like, that was such a crazy like feeling for me and that. And then I can't recall any like clubs where I just like bombed at, but I'm sure there are some. I've done so many like gigs, but that actually, you know what? I can tell you this one that just happened to me probably 4 years ago. So I got booked at the Western Bonaventure out here to do a Christmas party. And so I'm like, okay, I bet I got a Christmas party. I've done tons of Christmas parties, tons of corporate events, tons of it. Now, what I didn't know was, well, I talked to the person whose manager was a personal friend. She was like, I'm gonna send you the music that they want. Because what I didn't realize at the time until I got there was hotels staff is probably 95% Latino. Okay? Especially out here, but I'm sure that's across the country. So now you're doing a Christmas party for the hotel. That means it's going to be 95% Latino. Cool. So she said she's going to send me like the music selections. I hit her today. I was like, you never sent me the music selection. She's like, well, I thought you had it. So I'm like, okay. Well, they just want bachata, blah, blah, blah. So it's bachata, merengue, salsa, all these different things. And so I'm going, okay, let me just go to iTunes. Now, something I don't know what to do, but I should just be able to get some salsa, some bachata, some this and that. So I'm doing this party and I go into this huge ballroom, like hugest ballroom I've ever been in. And they start letting all these people in. So like now, okay, I'm like, okay, I'm cool. I got my salsa, my merengue, and people just start coming up to me and they're requesting. This lady's like, you have some bachata? And I'm like, okay. So I go to the bachata that I think I'm playing, and she just mean mugging me. And she's just like, that's the wrong, but she's dancing. She's like literally dancing with her dude, like mean mugging me. That's the wrong bachata. And I'm like, I don't know what the right like bachata is. And so let me just paint this scenario for you. Like Latin people are very strategic in what they do. So you can play salsa, and the people that want to hear salsa, they're on the floor. And the people that want to hear bachata, they off the floor. Like, and then like standing there like this, waiting for theirs to like come back on. And they're very impatient. So the whole time my dance floor is like doing like this, like the whole time.
Wow.
And then you have a small faction of white and black folks that now they want to hear the regular Christmas like song. So yeah. And so I'm doing this event and I'm trying to just like, I'm looking at the clock and it's like drawing like long, and I finally get through this event. And so I'm like worn out, tired after this event, because mentally I just took myself. And I'm thinking I ain't gonna get this event like again, even though I know a friend, I get my check. Now, sure enough, a year rolls around, they call me back. So I'm like, okay. At first I'm like, all right, but for that whole year, bro, all I can see is this lady going, that's the wrong bachata. Like, just like, I'm having nightmares.
And shit playing back in your mind over and over again.
It's just playing in my head. And I'm like, I'm a dope ass DJ. And all I hear is just like, that's the wrong bachata. So anyway, so I know this cat named DJ Pina who's a Mexican dude who DJ. And so I go to him, I'm like, dude, I got this gig again. I was like, I need you to explain to me these elements and how to do this. And he's like, okay, bet. So I take my Lacey over to his house. And he's like, dude, don't get discouraged. He's like, I'm Mexican and I don't know half the time what to play because it can be situational. It can be the like times you never gonna know. So he gave me like this list of songs. He's like, this is bachata, this is hot bachata merengue, just do these. So I'm like, I can't wait, Chris. I'm like, okay, I'm like, I can't wait to get back to this event. So I'm there early, setting up, I'm ready to go. And I'm like, I see the lady. I'm like, all right, lady, like, okay,
I got
like
something for your ass.
I got something for your ass now. So now, as soon as I can't wait for her to say you have some bachata. I'm like, yeah, here you go, blah. And the whole floor just like went like crazy. And I just like kept it going the whole time. And I was able to go through from bachata to the salsa to the merengue and then keep a dope like balance. But the ebb and flow from how dejected I felt the first time and then to now was like such a good like feeling. But I tell you, I heard that lady saying that's the wrong bachata every day that when I thought about Christmas, that lady haunted me. And I actually got another gig off of that one was probably 2 weeks later because it was a span of Christmas and did the same thing there. And so it's like I learned how to capitalize and learn how to do the Latin portion of it. All the other stuff to me is secondary. But when I come into something like that, that's a challenge because I would tell people, I don't know what it is that you're requesting. And it's like half the time, they don't even know. They just know what is being played like at their party. And when I tell you, man, they are some of the most segregated people because it's like, if I want to hear bachata, I'm not dancing to like salsa. You would think they would just like keep it going. No,
do a little this, little that.
No, they like, I'm off the floor until you play what I want. And so that's a whole other tenseness that you got to go through. But I'll tell you, man, when I can still see that lady looking up at me like, just like mean mugging me with this red lipstick on and her Christmas dress and just like, oh, dude. I had nightmares, Chris. I had nightmares about that. So that's going to be my story of when I sort of bombed, but still kind of like made it out of there, you know?
All right, that's dope, man. Hey, so before we get to the Dodgers, but I got one more DJ question. So I noticed back in the day, you had the ones and the twos, right? It was two turntables.
Yeah.
And now I notice a lot of people do things, man, and they don't have turntables. They got like little, I don't know what those things are. They got the computer set up. Most guys got a computer, whatever. But they doing all this, but there's no records, man. So
there's mine right here. There's mine right here.
Okay, yeah, exactly. I already know what you got. So
right.
So do classic DJs like yourself, man? Do y'all like look down at your noses, man? Are you guys, at the other people who don't really put the records on the thing?
No, because here's what it is. Even though this is a Serato record right here,
mm-hmm.
that my laptop would normally like be here. So these are still real Technique turntables. They can still play like records. I fronted on Serato when it first came in, like years, because I was like, and at the time I was doing CDs. Mm-hmm. And what it's done is it's done two things. The technology has made it easier for us because nobody wants to drag crates of records around.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so.
And at the same time, nobody really appreciates that other than somebody like me, you, or other people. Now,
right.
If somebody wants to pay me to drag vinyl out, by all means, we can talk about it.
Right.
But it's so much easier to do this or the controller. And then you don't have to even use needles anymore. There's these little things I put on here called phases that are now the needles. I don't even have to drop this tone arm on it anymore. That's even like easier because they stopped making the needles. There's only one person who makes needles, and that's Artiform. And sure, they stopped making needles. So slowly but surely, the stuff is weeding itself out.
Wow, so
they don't make the turntables anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, it's slowly but surely being weeded out. And these tone arms from these Artiforms, These things cost $200 a pop.
Really?
Yeah. And so it wasn't cost effective anymore. So people start going to the phases where you just put this little cube right here, and it communicates with the laptop. Now, what we don't like is a lot of the technology starts to leave you behind. You got to keep upgrading your laptop. You got to keep upgrading your equipment because they just want you to spend money like constantly. I just had they bought me a new system at Dodger Stadium, and I had to spend close to $500 getting my laptop ready just to be able to take on this new equipment.
Mm.
And it's crazy because they used to just let you go, okay, we're gonna make this ready for like everything. No, they want you to keep buying laptops, they want you to keep buying programs, they want you to keep buying controllers, because even in these mixers, they have software in them too. But after a while, they stop supporting the software. So you like, they like, you gotta come on with us or we're gonna leave you behind.
Wow. Wow.
That's just the technology of it.
Wow. That's something, never knew. Never knew. Wow.
And so even me as a DJ, I got to be ready to step in. If I book a gig, say I book a gig in Atlanta or something, and they tell me, of course, I'm not trying to drag all my equipment there. I might take a controller, but I got to be prepared for whatever they have there to play. So I need to be up on all the major forms of what is, even if they go back to vinyl. Okay, I got to figure out a way to keep some vinyl in my bag to get me through what I need to do. You just got to be prepared. And I learned that early on. Like, don't just think, okay, well, some DJs, well, I only play on this. What do you mean you don't play on this? You want to get paid? You need to be able to play on this mixer, that mixer, CDJs, the controller, whatever it is, and then figure out what it is you got to do and keep everything in your bag. Always keep vinyl in your bag. Always keep scratch pads in it. Like, you keep everything for every occasion because you never know what you're going to come up on.
Wow.
You just got to be ready.
Yeah, I see, man. So before we get you out of here, man, so tell us, man, how did you what led you to the Dodgers?
Okay, so we're close friends. Another close friend back in 2009, he got the gig to be a caterer at Dodger Stadium. And it's funny because he actually called me up one day because we were real good friends. And he's like, man, I need some advice. Should I take this job? So he's describing like the job to me. So we sat at the party, we was talking, I was like, man, I think that's a great opportunity for you. Well, fast forward a little bit, the Dodgers were at the time hadn't been in the playoffs in a while. And when they acquired Manny Ramirez, he wanted to spice up where he was at Dodger Stadium. So he got the opportunity to be the head caterer in the very, very bottom of Dodger Stadium, which is where all the celebrities go to hang out. Like before the game, they eat real good and they go to their seats. So he brought me in like to DJ. So I was DJing before the game, pregame, I'm DJing. And I did probably 3 games. The Dodgers advanced to the next round. And on the other level, there was another DJ, but he was becoming a prima donna. And so the people that managed that section asked my buddy, like, would I be interested in doing it? And so I go, yeah. And so the deal was they wanted you to do it with 1 parking space, but they wanted to have 3 DJs. So I called up 2 other cats and I said, we're gonna make this work. So I just kind of I learned to never say no for anything and always just to be prepared. So I figured out if I just rent a trailer and I have the cats meet me down at the stadium, I can tow all the DJ equipment into the stadium and then just flip the trailer up on top of my Suburban, and that's how I'll get by with 1 parking space. So we did that. And at the time, the main goal you needed to do was just be a good DJ and then not have them, when they come up to look for you, see if you're in your area playing, you're already good so they can go on to that other stuff. So it was me, 4 of the DJs, we were playing, we were eating good. So as soon as the game started, we go down to the seats. I'm kicking it with Tiger Woods. I'm kicking it with everybody, because they're hanging out at the spot where I'm DJing. So we just partying. Shortly after that, the Dodgers hear about me and they asked me to do DJ a couple events for them. Dodgers Under the Lights, where people come to the stadium during when a team is out of town, for tour. So I'm on the dugout during the off season. I'm playing on season. I'm playing on the dugout. And I get the chance to do the Christmas party. Well, I do this Christmas party. Like, this is the year when the DJ horn first came out.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah. So they're having a scavenger hunt. So I kept hitting this horn like, and so at the end of the event, this guy, Damian Shepard, comes over and talks to me. He's like, hey man, I really like that sound effect. Can you send it to me? I was like, no problem. Bet. We exchanged like information. And 2 weeks later, I'm in New York, like on vacation. And he emails me. He's like, hey, can I get that sound effect from you? And I'm like, yeah. So I email him like all my sound effects. And I asked him, are there any openings? And he says, as a matter of fact, we're looking for a DJ. Are you interested? And so I go, well, yeah. So I shut down my vacation, started revamping my website with all the pictures that I had taken at Dodger Stadium. I come back home, I go to this interview. I'm like nervous. And all the people that are interviewing me, I've seen around the stadium. And I've made sure that I've made friends with them. I made sure that you know what I mean? I've made sure that when they see me, I'm always about my, you know what I mean? Just like everything is going good. So he gives me like these scenarios of what would I do top of the ninth, with down, blah, blah, you know, all these different scenarios. So I go home and I got a 2-week span to come up with like these answers before I come back for my second interview. So I'm like at home daily. I'm praying for this gig. I'm like, I want this. This is my dream gig. Like, I'm like, I got to get this gig. So I'm working all these scenarios. Finally, I come back for the interview, and same 2 people that they add one. And they're like, they didn't even ask me these questions. They're like, you know what, man, we just gonna give it to you because, excuse me, we seen you around the stadium. You pretty much know what you can do. But what we want this stadium to sound like no other stadium. And the dude I was in an interview with was this white dude named Harlan Hendrickson. Real cool white dude, wore like creepers with suits. So he had like these big block Doc Martin creepers on that he was wearing. And he just told me, I just want you to make it sound like no other place, no other stadium. So like, okay, cool. Now, immediately I get the gig, and you know, I'm up with the media. So I got all these reporters looking at me like, oh, they hired this black DJ. All they're gonna do is play hippity hop. You know what I mean? And so nobody's really speaking to me. You know what I mean? I'm kind of like on an island. And so luckily, real quick, I get in and I figure out, because I'm always thinking and processing. So I go, you know what? I think the best thing for me to do is figure out what's working and what the ideas of the people are. I'll take my pregame mixes and I'll incorporate the new stuff, and I'll figure out how to tie this into the game. But for the really highlighted stuff that the producer over here is calling for, let me try to get his opinion on what he does that can work. So now, and a lot of his stuff was still like the Inner Sandman stuff, you know what I mean? The rock stuff that normal stadiums do. So I was able to take enough of that and merge it together. And the same year, well, in my first couple of homestands, people could tell the difference. So Garrett Anderson was on the team at the time. And Garrett Anderson, through PR, communicated through PR that he wanted some of my mixes and asked me how much. And I told him, I said, look, I don't want any money. I just want to meet him and take a picture with him. So they said, okay. So the next day they said, bring your mixes and come down to the dugout. So I got there early. I walk into they let me, give me the okay to come out to the dugout. I'm in the dugout like by myself. James Loney walks in. So I'm like, okay, it's James Loney. So I start meeting James Loney. Then Garrett Anderson walks in. So I talk to him like a little bit. I hand him the mixes. I have James Loney like take the picture and we communicate. I go back up to my area in the middle of the game. PR brings me an envelope. And all the media is looking like, where's PR doing? And all the people who I work with are looking. And in this envelope is $500, like from Garrett Anderson. And I'm like, and so everybody's looking like, what's that? I'm like, well, when they're asking, what did you do? I said, well, I made some like mixes for him. So everybody's immediately like going, well, what? This is different. You know what I mean? We've never seen this like happen. And so I tell PR the same thing. I say, look, now I want to give him some more mixes because I know he likes hip hop. I want to make him some more 90s mixes. So I had already had some like 90s mixes together. I said, look, I don't want anything. I just want to give him some more like mixes.
Mm-hmm.
But I give him the mixes the next day. Sure enough, same thing. $500 in another envelope. So now everybody's like looking at it, they're like tripped out.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, I'm going, dang, this is crazy. Now, later on that year, the Yankees come to town, and the Yankees hear my music, and they write in the New York Times, best music at any baseball stadium is like Dodger Stadium. So the same cat that hired me announces it over the headset. So now I'm thinking, okay, well, I got a formula here. I just got to like keep doing it. Now, fast forward to the off season. The dude who hired me in the Creepers gets fired. And I'm like, I find it out at the next Christmas party that I'm doing from Damien, the same person who reached out to me. He's like, yeah, Harlan got fired. I'm like, so I'm a little bit nervous. They didn't really tell me anything at the end of the season, like what we're going to go on. So I go, okay. Now, a week later after the Christmas party, Damien gets fired. So I'm like, I'm looking around like, okay.
Right. Head on the swivel.
I'm head on the swivel like, okay, well, if the two guys that hired me got fired, where does that leave me? And no one's reached out to me. So we get to the season part, and I get an email from the person that's still my boss, and they bring me in and say, you know what, man, like, we loved what you did, and you're going to be like our DJ, regardless of what happened, because you came in and you did exactly, just keep doing like what it is that you're doing. And I just learned to think ahead of the box, because before, the DJ position was really hands-off from the players. You didn't talk to the players. You communicated with PR. They told PR, and PR communicated. So I would get these emails. And so lots of times, you know, at the time in hip hop, the songs were like a little this, a little that, or they have the song names messed up because, you know, we don't like to spell the words the right way. So I'm searching for these songs. And then sometimes they can't even get played because they had too many curse words. So I told PR one day, I was like, look, let me buy my own plane ticket. I'm going to come down to spring training, and I'm going to talk to the players about what music works and what doesn't. And PR was like, you know what? That's a good idea. I didn't let any of my upper bosses know because I know it would create like a red tape, type of like nightmare. So I just bought my ticket. I went down, and I meet with PR, who I made the deal with. I go in, and I get in the dugout. First person I see is Tommy Lasorda. Like, it's just me in the dugout. I'm standing there first by myself. Like, Tommy Lasorda walks in, and Tommy Lasorda does this. He looks at me up and down, and he just walks off. He didn't say shit to me. I'm like, well, that was different, but
okay.
Then you know what I mean? I'm like, first I'm thinking Tommy Lasorda, my hero. Like, you know what I mean? Like, rest in peace, Tommy. But he just like stood there, literally like looked me up and down, and then just walked off. He didn't say nothing.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay. Then the players start coming in. And so the players I hadn't met, I start walking around, introducing myself to them, talking to them. And I'm talking like Matt Kemp, like everybody. I'm like meeting everybody. And over in the corner is the writers. And they're like, the way the writers work is they sit back and they wait for an opportunity to go in and talk to like the players. And so when they saw me like talking to everyone and us laughing and talking and we meeting them and taking pictures, as I'm walking out, they're asking me like, well, why is it that they want to talk to you? Why is it they talk to you so nice and they seem like they enjoy talking to you, but they don't enjoy talking to us? I said, well, I mean, I'm talking to them about their music, and then like what, like you're trying to write stories about them, and maybe you don't have like the best relationship. I said, but me, I'm developing a relationship with them over music. And it grew to, I go every year, and if I don't go, the players get like pissed off. They're like, why didn't Severe come down? And even PR's like, Severe, why didn't you come down? They don't want to talk to us about music every time we ask them, they push us in the face. You got to come down here. Like, you have to come down here. So I worked it to where I get paid to go down. I spend a couple of days. I get a rent a car. I get my room. So it's like, it's a needed trip. And now we just spend the time like talking. I don't really get them because not half the time they don't have their selections together, but we just kind of spend the time like talking. I try to make sure that they still like the vibe or what's going on. So I'll be sitting around the locker room with them just talking just having stories, sitting around laughing about stuff. It's like one of my favorite times of the year. So I mean, that's the story of how I got it. And every day I kind of like think back and look on it like how blessed I was. I thank God, like, just being in the right place at the right time. But also there's this thing about being prepared for action and always like thinking ahead, you know what I mean? And just being able to lead like people and get it together, and just always like be able to say, I never tell people no. I just say, yeah, I'll get it done. Just figuring out a way to get it done. I always think about flipping that trailer.
That's a big, yeah, that was big. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because most people were like, no, I need 2 parking spaces. Well, why are you going to lose a gig just because you want to be a prima donna and like just figure out another way to get it done. You know what I mean? Always figure out a way to get it done. And then that's probably literally what got me the gig. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just being willing. Yeah.
Just being willing, and the DJ horn, and every time I hear that thing, I gotta.
And the lady wasn't there saying that's the wrong bachata.
Yeah, and yeah.
She wasn't at the doctor's. So man, look, I felt bad for you last year, man, because during the pandemic when we came back and we got the World Series, man, they didn't have it at Dodger Stadium, man. You didn't get to play. Right. You didn't get to play. You had to watch it on TV like the rest of us. But I want America to know that you did get something out of that World Series. You want me to tell them? You gonna tell them?
Yeah. I got it right here. If you want to,
Yeah. We want to see. So yeah. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. World Series ring 2020.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
That's it, and that's it in all its glory. And it sits here, and it's actually, I'm actually very proud and accomplished. I wear it to the stadium like every day. There's certain people that don't wear their ring, but I wear my ring like every day because every day I meet somebody different, and they want to stop and take a picture with me, and it's like it gets more use from me than it would like most people. So I enjoy wearing my ring. Plus, even like when you came out, just for my people that come to the stadium that know me to see it and see how it lights up there, you know what I mean? Like it's a big accomplishment for me. Yeah. It's a huge accomplishment for me. And although I wasn't at the World Series or the games, like my music was there, and the DJ that did do my things got compliments on the music that I sent him. And he's like, I got to step up my game. He was like, and I kept seeing him on Twitter. Like people were talking to him on Twitter, like, oh, I like the song. And he was like, he had to keep giving me
props,
compliments. He had to keep saying what I said. This is all from like DJ Severe. And the thing that I really wanted to do was, since I hadn't talked to the players, I didn't want the players to know that I wasn't there. I wanted them to think that I was there. So I didn't really text them at the time or anything to say like I'm not there. But if I did text them like, hey, let's like get it going, because some of them thought I was there. And I actually found out that in the meetings, like right when it happened and COVID was kind of like loosening up, my bosses were telling the MLB like, it's not a real home field advantage if our DJ doesn't go. So they were fighting to get me like to go. One of my bosses at the time, he was like, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but they were really like fighting to get you like to go down like to the stadium. So that was flattering, but it actually worked out. Funny, it actually worked out better for me because the media that was here, they were searching for stories to surrounding that. And so that became a story where I did stories on every news outlet here. And then the funny thing is, on the game that we clinched, they had me on the news commentating on the game at the end of the game. So I'm sitting with Liz Habib, Manny Mona Jr., and Steve Garvey, like, and they have me waiting to comment on my feelings for the game. So I did that twice. That would have never happened had COVID not happened. I would not have been on the news with Steve Garvey, like doing this. Like I was actually a real commentator, giving my spiel on how I think we won the game. And then Steve wanted me to give him a walk-up song. So I mean, all these things blossomed like out of COVID, where it's like, if the World Series was here, cool. But it's like I got all these other opportunities and different things to do because of it. You know what I mean? So I had to look at it, and then we won on top of it, and I got my ring, so it worked out. Now I'm not gonna front and say I don't want to do it like this year, so we can have a parade, so I can keep going. But I look at everything; it's in God's hands, and it's in God's time, and I'd rather Him work out the situation. I used to tell people when I first got the gig, and the media was like, after I got that whole taste of the New York Times, I would tell the reporters like, you should do a story on me. And they were like, eh. And then so I was like, I was kind of hurt. I was like, man, I know I'm good at what I'm doing. Like, you know what I mean? And so one day in 2013, this reporter walks up to me. He's like, hey, I want to do a story on it from the LA Times. I'm like, okay. So he comes in a couple of days, does a story. Now, when I wanted to do the story, I was thinking, if they do a story on me, it's going to be on the front of the sports page or somewhere tucked in the paper. Mm-hmm. When this dude did a story on me, I was on the front page of the LA Times, top of the fold. Mm. So I'm driving into a playoff game. I have all my friends' moms calling me, screaming on the phone, like, you on the front page of the LA Times. My grandmother's going in, buying all the papers
all the
up.
Damn papers up.
Buying all the papers up. I get to the stadium, and those same media that was giving me the gas face and then wasn't really talking to me at the beginning was coming up to me like, do you know what it means that where you are on the paper? You're on the front page, top of the fold, which I was like, what's top of the fold? That means like if people toss the paper, you're still up.
Oh, yeah, that's a
and
sign.
So it's a
like
sign to me, which I didn't even know. Yeah. And so I was like, look at God, like, okay, like I just wanted to be on the sports. But if I let Him do it, I'm on the front page. You know what I mean? So I just had to learn, just kind of like sit back sometimes and just be ready to produce. And that's kind of like and I always forget about that, but I keep that mindset. You know what I mean? Like I keep it's up in my studio. I got a placard, but I just remember how I'll do a story on me. And sometimes you just got to sit back and let it work itself out.
Man, that's the truth, brother. So last question before we get you out, man, about where people can find you and everything. The most joy you've ever had DJing was when? What event? Ooh. The most joy you've ever felt?
Wow. Okay. During COVID, we did a lot of food giveaways for people. Mm-hmm. And I did this one event. It was a Yasiel Puig event. And I can remember it being just rainy. This is at the first part of COVID. People didn't really know what's going on. So, people couldn't really go to stores, couldn't really shop. And I'm just playing music for these people. And these little, this family comes up to me and they start talking about the fact that these little kids, when they go to the game, how it makes them feel when you hear the music. And so the reason why it puts so in perspective for me, this is the middle of a pandemic, and then we're out here handing food to people. We don't know where this is going, but for these people, for me to bring this much joy to these people, and like I said, I probably did about 18, 9 of them. So I'm not gonna say that's the one, but I got that same feeling every time I did those, because someone else would come up and tell me a story. I wanted to take a picture. And it's different than being at the stadium. I walk around the stadium like the big dog because I'm playing the music here. But to be doing these food giveaway events where people are coming up in their cars and you can't really touch, so you're just putting food inside their car, that kind of touched me for what I was doing. And I did it for the Dodgers. I did it for Yasiel Puig. I did it for the Rodney King Foundation. I just did it for all these different people. And to see the need and the want, and just to be providing something else than what I'm doing. I'm not at the club. I'm not at the stadium. Just to see these people get some sort of normalcy and me be a part of it. That's probably the most fulfilling that I've had, and put like everything into perspective. I could say the tons of weddings I've done and different things, but really at being there at the time of need and having people talk about that. And I'm talking like for not only the people that's coming up, but also for the crew of people that are working that I can't wait, that I'm helping them. Like, it's like we were in a time warp. Like, the pandemic is going on, but we got this good music, you know what I mean? And it's just like, it took everybody away for a time, because we're giving back to the people. I'm helping them stay energized as you're giving back to the people. And man, we wasn't even getting paid for this. We were just out there creating content and then bringing the feeling. Because at the time, the team wasn't making no money. So there was no budget, and everything was like donated. Everything everybody was giving was like donated. But man, just to be out there and to be working, it kept me from not sitting, you know what I mean? And just seeing the people look on their faces. Yeah. That's a feeling that I probably won't ever forget. And when I have to go back and think about my times in the pandemic, that's gonna be some of my main like thoughts. Because without that, I built up a fan base. I start selling merchandise. It just, so many things blossomed like from that. You know what I mean? So those were definitely the most fulfilling type of events that I've done.
That's dope, man. So, man, we know you got to go because you got a show. Where can the people find you at, man?
Best place to find me is on my Instagram, The Real DJ Severe. My Twitter is DJ Severe, but the best place to find me is on my Instagram at DJ Severe, because that has all the links to the merchandise, has all the links to the shows. But I always tell people, go to Twitch, DJ Severe, for the best enhanced show. Hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button. And for the other people, don't really know that the DJs that are on Twitch, is like a lot of DJs lost a lot of money during what was going on and still trying to recover. That's the best way you can help them out, by following them on Twitch, giving them a subscription, because a lot of DJs are getting paid some money to help them sustain and get through like during the time. So we appreciate all the followers. We try to do dope shows. I do my Thursday night show, which is coming on tonight, and I do my Friday morning bops, Friday morning pancake mix, which is the music we talked about, the Slaves and the Earth, Wind and Fires. That's what I do to kind of get you going for your Friday morning. So we're on every Friday morning from 8 to probably 9 Pacific Standard Time, and then every Thursday we're on from 7:30-ish to probably like 9:30, 10. You know? Yeah,
I made the mistake of listening to your bops last week on a break, and I was like, damn, it's time for me to get back to the
right.
Like, come on, man, play it done. I was like, play it done, man. Come on, give me. He kept hitting bangers, man. I can't leave, man. Don't get fired. So look, man. Hey, man. Well, first, man, I want to thank you for coming on the show, man. But I also really want to thank you, man, just for your service, man. DJing is not just a job or form of entertainment, man. It's a service, man. You provide a service, and all the DJs, man, that really give a damn, that love the music, that want to get the people moving, especially during the pandemic, bro. That was so useful and helpful. And I want the people to know, man, that everything you say about this music life, man, if they can't tell it now, man, I can tell you it's real. Because look, my man was nice enough, man. He got me in the game with my wife, man. We watched the Dodgers beat the Cubs, and I was excited because Mookie Betts got a home run. Kershaw struck out 14. I'm hyped. We kick it with Severe after the game, man. And this cat want to know one thing and one thing only. How did you like the music? That was the one question this cat had. I was like, the music was on Slab. So, we already know what the music gonna be. You know what I'm saying? But it's just to let the people know, man, that you care so much about this art. Yeah. That and me and us being cool, you gave a damn about what I thought about the music. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was just one afternoon, man. So I love that, man. I love that, because even refereeing, man, I know I'm providing a service, man. It's not just you ain't just out here getting money. You know what I'm saying? You have got to have some joy in what you do, and I appreciate, man, the joy that you have. It blesses me. I enjoy my success. I really enjoy the success of my friends and people that I care about. You know what I
Thank you,
mean?
brother.
Like I
Yeah,
get
yeah,
way more out of that. You know what I mean? Seeing you reach your goals and stuff, man.
yeah.
So your journey, man, I'm enjoying watching it, man. You know, from obviously before I met you, you know, I couldn't, but now I'm there every step of the way, man. And obviously, man, we want all your dreams, man, and your blessings to come true. Obviously, you got a great work ethic. You got great ideas. I hope the people, you know, who listen to the show, man, learn some lessons about, you know, perseverance, about humility, about,
Right.
you know, taking chances on things, you know, pressing beyond fear, accepting rejection, accepting, you know, a loss. You know, sometimes
Yeah.
you take an L. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That wasn't the right bachata. That was an L. You
Right.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Especially
That
when
was
you
an
got to
L.
sit there. You can't just
Yeah.
grab your shit and leave. Oh
No, you got to
fuck. You
sit in it.
understand?
Yeah.
You got to sit there and
Yeah.
take it. And like you said, you know, the dance floor move from this way to that way. You know, I mean that's. But you know, when you give a damn, when you care
Yeah.
about what you do, man, you know, and you want to serve the people. See, this is about the people. You know what I mean? When
Right.
you out there performing, it's about the people, man. You know, and you're gonna get joy by seeing the people move and get. You know what I'm saying? And so that's infectious, man. That's a real thing. Like that's why we need more art in school. You know, they took the art out of school. They want to teach you math and
Man.
science. They want to take out
Man.
acting. They want to take out music. You know what I'm saying? And we can't live. Obviously, we learned throughout the pandemic, you can't live without the arts. You need the
Right. You
fucking
got to have
art.
the arts.
You got to have the art. You got to have your documentaries, your movies,
Yes.
your music. You need your DJ. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, you know, so man, I want to thank you, brother. I'm not gonna keep you longer, man. But man, I want to say thank you, brother. Man, I can't wait to see you in December.
Yes, bro.
We're
Yes.
gonna tear Cleveland up.
Yeah.
But no, man, do your thing, man. If you ever need anything, man, you always welcome on the show, bro.
I appreciate you, bro. Yes. 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 Yes.
All right, man. Take it easy. And thanks for joining us on the For Real Though show. Always, you can like us, subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Check my man out, Severe. He out here doing great things. And we appreciate you, man. Y'all stay cool. Peace.